Hello and welcome back to the Red Path. Just recording a little video here. As you'll see, I'm not in my normal location. I'm actually in England right now. Had to come back for some family stuff, and my flight home got delayed, or rather cancelled. So I'm actually stuck here for an extra day, and thought I'd just record a little video. I actually had a script for this video that I was working on, or like the content for this, prior to coming over here, but this was kind of a last minute thing. So this is a bit more ad-libbed, a bit more rough around the edges. I've got some notes with me, but I won't remember all the, or don't have the exact details as to what I was gonna talk down regarding like any issues with numbers and hard facts and stuff like that. Anyway, so the content or the theme of this video is really kind of like my thoughts on World Eaters right now, since the Chaos Space Marine book dropped, because we've had several weeks. Hopefully we've been getting some reps in, getting some good games, getting some good experience, trying out new things. I've had a fair few games. I'm probably up to about 10 games now, with the new book, which obviously isn't a huge amount. Just had, like I said, I've had some stuff going on IRL, but a few games at a tournament, at an RTT, and then most of my games have been on TTS, just because that's how it's easier for me to play. So I've done some experimenting, tried some things out, but I've been running biker blobs, the red butcher blob, different warlord traits and stuff like that. So, I mean, just initial impressions. I love it. I really do. And I'm pretty sure we've talked about this already, Darren, myself, and, whether you're in the Discord, probably everyone's pretty hyped and pumped up about it. There's a lot of stuff in this book. We're not doing a deep dive into that right now. But I'm just going to jump into my topics here so I don't get too distracted, because I can do that. So the first thing I want to talk about is how I feel the style of play for World Eaters should be, given what our typical builds are pushing us towards. And like the first thing, and I'm sure none of this is going to be exciting, groundbreaking news for you, but hopefully it helps reinforce or support your own opinions. Because, we obviously favour wanton slaughter, which is the wanton act with exploding sixes in combat and pistols and assault weapons. That typically starts in round 3, or army-wide it will start in round 3 if you choose to go into it, which you probably should be as a World Eaters player. Meaning, all your units suddenly really power up. It doesn't feel like much because it is just like a slightly better version of the old Death of the False Emperor, but given our overall volume of melee attacks has increased across the board, we're not going to go into berserkers right now, but we really kick off. Like, that's when the sort of theme song really starts playing when you hit round 3, and I'm sure you've experienced that and noticed that. It really makes a huge impact. And given that, some of more long-time viewers or people I've talked to, I've always advocated through late 8th edition and 9th edition up to the Codex for a kind of round 3 push with World Eaters. I've always thought, bring in your transports, whether your Dreadclaws or your drills or whatever, round 2, and this would apply for rhinos and stuff, and keep your troops inside, keep your berserkers inside, so you can wait for round 3 to really catapult forwards and like you just hammer home with multiple assaults, just swarming their backfield. That's always been kind of like a design philosophy or a playstyle philosophy I've advocated. But I think this book, our current World Eaters style and list archetypes, probably favour this even more, and it makes it even more necessary to really actually kind of play cagey in the first couple of rounds and just stage and prepare yourself, position your army so round 3, when it kicks off, when the nails really crunch in, right, you're ready to just push forwards and absolutely hammer. Similar to this, or related to this, is the way we use transports and disembarking. Again, I basically just said that, but I didn't read my bullet point before I said it. At the moment, most of us will be running rhinos or land raiders, I'm guessing, just because of the Forge World limitations at the moment. Lacking traits Astartes, you would lose your wanton axe and possibly some other stuff. So majority of us are probably running our GW transports, and I'm running a rhino at the moment. And again, you want to stage, you want to position. So round 3, those berserkers or chosen or whatever you've got inside can jump out, get the 3-inch disembark, and really pick a good target to charge into and just slice their way through. And the last bit of this topic, this is kind of the shitty part, really. The downside of CSM is our secondaries. They're absolute trash. There are some good ones in there, like the one for the creations of bile, specimens for the spider, maybe something like that. There's a couple other legions which have okay to good ones. But we don't. Skulls for the Skull Throne is fine. It's not top tier, but we can make it work, with a beefed up Demon Prince or Disco Lord or something. Even the Master of Executions can be kitted up pretty tasty, actually. But it's not a great secondary because the opponent can very, very easily deny if they choose to. It's not going to be great into all armies. It's got limitations, and like Godrod and the other CSM ones, they're very variable. Like the Long War is okay, but it's not great. We've got issues, right? So our opinion has been, like myself and Dara, our ITC teammates, sort of like all the great players in the Discord, and just people like even more casual players, focus on primary. We need to have our lists that can really, really quite safely get 45 on primary. And then look to score whatever you can on secondaries. Personally, I want 45 on primary and realistically about 30 to 35 secondaries. That's still quite a good score. That pushes you in the 80 to 90 range, which is it's not an auto win by any means, but it means you've got a good game. Whether you're running your banners or your R&D, I kind of expect 10 on skulls in any game. Or it's just a case of I've been tabled very early on. 15 on skulls is great, but I assume I'm going to get 10. And a couple other things like Long War is good in some missions, and if you're lucky enough to go second, things like that. We can hope to get into that range. But I really think our list archetypes, our lists need to be at the moment focusing on really maximizing primary, which does involve trying to get quite a bit of obsec. There's always the old, especially like for World Eaters, like adage of obsec doesn't matter if the enemy's dead. Well, enemies are getting harder and tougher and harder to shift, and berserkers having kind of lost a little bit of killiness, sort of kind of. Obsec does matter. It will come up, and especially because now primaries really, really matter. And also not only primary but denying secondary, so having more bodies on the objective versus particular armies is going to make a difference. So there's things we need to consider. So yeah, I think building for primary and building for being able to kick off in round 3 through whatever your list is kind of very important. The next kind of aspect I want to talk about is adapting to our newfound resilience, right? Not only do we get extra wounds more or less across the board, and 2 wounds for some models, chosen going up to 3 wounds, for instance. Things like the Black Rune giving -1 to wound on a unit, illusory supplication or benediction darkness, little things like that, extra wounds on lords. Our resilience has really increased. Now, our footprint has decreased because we can generally run a lot fewer models now, or fewer units than we could previously, but we do stick around a lot more. Like previously, you throw 10 Warp Talons up turn 1, they will kill something, but then they're just picked up. Now, not so much. They do stick around. We do have some longevity, and it's actually one of the challenges I found is being able to kind of do the mental math for that. It's like, I'm in the place that I like, I throw my berserkers forward, they'll trade. They'll kill it, but they'll die. Now they'll probably kill it, and they don't always die. And you get into the tougher units, you possess and your chosen and your terminators, they stick. They really do. And you actually have to plan for that now. It's hard for me, and I'm sure some of you can relate, changing your sort of paradigm here, the way that the game plays. We're not eviscerated turn 1 and turn 2 if we make early combat. If we still can suffer very much so to like a Tau Alpha strike if the terrain's bad enough and things like that. I'm not saying we're invincible, but we do last longer than we did before. Evidently, we looked at some of those ads that was on Facebook or whatever, right? So yeah, that is another thing that I think is important to sort of like think about, and look at the units that you're using, what their role is. Are you running a big squad of warp talons? Don't expect them to die straight away. Certainly not into some armies. Sure, if you charge them into some Tyrannid warriors or whatever, they'll probably pick them up on the fight back, or what have you, right? But it is something to bear in mind, something to consider. Next thing I want to touch on here is, we've just had Demons, depending on when I upload this, either has just released or is about to release. The leaks are all over the place now. We all know what's coming. And, there's a lot of conversation on, should we ally them in? How good would it be? I'm not a demon expert. Got a few. They look fun. I think it's going to be a very strong codex. Don't get me wrong. I think it is going to kind of very much impact the meta because of the demon save, and I think demons are quite a common army because there's a lot of like AOS players who might jump in with it now, or you know what I'm saying. Very popular army and a very cool army. Do we ally them with World Eaters? My gut feeling, my initial feeling is no. Competitively, I'm talking purely competitive. I don't think so. There may be a few little things. There may be like being able to bring in like a bloodthirster or something. But there again, it's the CP expenditure. I don't know. The problem is once you add in a patrol, that's 2 CP. Or if you bring in like I was really excited for the Skull to having new rules. They're not quite as good as I'd hoped. They still do have some synergy, but not quite enough to justify just bringing them, because the way the detachment restriction works, I think you can only bring 1 demon allied detachment. So if you bring the Skull, or you're not bringing any Khorne demons that will benefit from it, it gets confusing. Anyway, I think the list archetypes so far from the on the more popular side, I'm not saying the best scoring, but everyone we talk to is running red butchers of some kind, whether it's 5 or 10 or 8 or whatever, and that is often a backbone of your army because you've got to invest 2 of your 6 CP there. So you're probably going to throw the rune, maybe the black mace. There's 2 ways to go there depending on the size of the squad. Typically that's 3 CP. You're going to probably want to throw one of the cool warlord traits somewhere. Mantle of Traitors is a very, very popular and very strong pick, but there are other ways. There's no right answer at the moment for sure. The thing is, if you want demons, you're going to need to probably spend at least 2 CP for a patrol. And it's going to be hard to do that and justify it. So I think we've got our butcher path, where we really lay into and focus on butchers and kind of infantry presence and trading and movement shenanigans. Or I think there'll be another path where there might be a competitive build by having some Khorne demons in there. But I think you have to sacrifice the butchers. I was messing around with a Lord of Skulls list, having a Khorne Lord of Skulls, a battalion of World Eaters, mostly I think I was going for cultists, and 2 squads of Terminators without red butchers, and then I had a Khorne patrol with 3 squads or 2 or 3 squads of bloodletters, one of the cool characters, and maybe some other stuff to summon in around the Lord of Skulls. It's just cool. I think there will be play there. I'm just not enough of a demons expert to know. But my initial impression is that I don't think the competitive angle is to ally in demons. But I could very much be wrong, and I would love to be proved wrong. Another thing that is going to change the way our meta is, our sort of World Eaters meta, is Forge World, whenever we get it right. I'm hoping that now that we do have the demons, we're about to get the demons book, they will shortly release an FAQ for Forge World, because I'm assuming that maybe they were waiting on that because it's also going to require a lot of keyword adjustments and fixes to the Demon Forge World models. So hopefully in a week or 2 we get our FAQ, which will clarify and allow us to honestly bring our drills back and stuff like that. So some key units I thought about which could affect our list building. Definitely the drill. I think the drill is 100% something we should be considering. It really plays into that kind of synergy I mentioned earlier with the sort of like round 3 is when we kick off. Well, if your drills are coming up round 2 and you keep the boys inside, round 3 when they get that tasty extra disembark, it could be pretty good. And a couple heavy flamers on the drills now. I think we drop the Volkite and we go flamers, because flamers are just so absolutely wonderful. really putting the burn in kill main burn. So I think drills definitely. We always know whether they were going to be good until their rules actually change, and if they actually got a nerf. I don't see that happening though, because no one's, won a tournament with 8 drills or anything ridiculous. If we get lucky, they'll take a little points decrease. I wouldn't mind about 20 points off of one of them. Some other units, I think, though, Decimators. I really think Decimators, we're assuming that the data sheet abilities are remaining the same, short some keyword changes and, maybe minor weapon tweaks. I think Decimators are very good. Soul Burners are obviously great. Mortal Wounds are great. Can't go wrong there. I do really value the Claw with the Hell Flamer, because it's a heavy flamer with damage 2. I just think that's really good. You can, stick a Soul Burner on one arm and a Claw and the Flamer. He's going to regenerate. He benefits from the Warpsmith or the Disco Lord if you happen to be running one. They don't have core, but they are vehicles. They don't reduce damage by 1 like the Contemptor or Hellbrutes, but I think that their offensive profile is better. And speaking of which, Contemptors. This is surprisingly a controversial opinion. Some people call me an idiot. Some, open to listening. I honestly think there's room in probably any Chaos list, but some need it far less. If you can shoot well as a Chaos Space Marine, you don't need this. I think there's room for one Contemptor with Volkite. Missiles if you want. I don't think you need the missiles, but Volkite. The reason being, the Khorne Prayer that the Apostle has, Wrathful Entreaty, goes on a core unit, the Contemptor is core, and it puts them in all 3 wanton states, right? 3 wanton acts. The Volkites are heavy, so they're only exploding in round 1 for any other army, or for any army that doesn't have access to Khorne or doesn't run them as Khorne. Maybe there's psychic powers that will do better things, I'm not sure. But if you've got a Khorne Apostle, your Contemptor, I'll hear you once after round 1. I haven't really got to worry about him. He's not got any buffs. Well, you can round 4 pray. The Contemptor's now got exploding 6s again. Obviously, as I said, the Warpsmith would also buff as core. A Lord or Mantle of Traitors rerolls from a Prince across the board. Throw it on the Contemptor, rerolling 1s. Similarly, Exalted Champion, if you're running one, I don't know why the hell you'd be running Exalted Champion, way overcosted. It's a nice ability, should have been an elite, and probably about 30 points too expensive at the least, I think. But yeah, I do think the Contemptor, even at the 1 CP, again, once you've got your butchers with the rune, you are looking at, okay, how's my list going? You can consider that. I don't think it's terrible. I'm not saying it's going to, change the meta. Everyone knows what Volkite does. Everyone's okay with it now. But Strength 6 is very good. It's very nice against, like Sisters who are very strong now, things like that. 0 AP, which sounds shit, but, in a world of Armour of Contempt, 0 AP is about the same as 1 AP, really. So there is some play there. Also, something like the Kratos, if we ever get actual Chaos rules for it, it's got Lawless rules, no Chaos rules. If we get that could be very interesting. I know Dara's talked about it quite a lot. Again, it depends on what keywords it might get and things like that, but it'll certainly be buffable by the Warpsmith and Disco Lord should you want to. So there's going to be things happening between Demons and Forge World, FAQs, and should have a balanced data slate soon as well. I don't know how big it'll be, but there's things happening that are going to keep our list creation fresh, and it's really fun writing lists right now. I think. I'm having a blast. I had to delete about 20 lists just so I wasn't scrolling through and I forgot what my kind of like key for the titling was, because I was like version 1, version 5, version 7. I said, fuck it. So, but I'd love to hear how you're finding them and what you're learning about the playstyle, because there is a lot of stuff. This isn't like 3 months ago when I had 4 or 5 years or 4 years of experience with this army. It's a new army and I'm still learning the ropes. So the more people that chime in with what they're finding, not necessarily, we all know Red Butchers are good, Chosen are good if you like them, but there's not really many bad units in there. But like maybe there's some strategies you've unlocked or play styles, or you found alpha striking very powerful, or you found deep striking half your army very powerful, whatever. I want to hear these sorts of things. I'd love to hear them in the Discord. But happy if you just drop some comments below. I know I will quickly point out I very rarely respond to YouTube comments anymore. I do read them because I do get notifications. But if I was to respond to all the social media I get, I wouldn't do anything else. You'll know that like videos have been a bit slow, certainly with me recently, just because, like, again, family stuff. But if I was to respond to all my social media, man, I'd never do anything. I'd have to quit my job. But I do read everything. Do take note of stuff. I know we had some audio issues recently, and I'm very much aware of that. But yeah, I'll try and respond, but it's not always possible. But yeah, just I'm very positive about where we are right now. We're probably the worst sub faction of CSM for sure, but it's still a hell of a lot of fun. I look forward. I can't wait to get some games in. I've got an RTT in a few weeks. Probably get a couple of TTS games in over the weekend once I get home. I'm just really enjoying it. I hope you are too. But yeah, like, again, apologies for the kind of like very guerrilla style video here, but it is what I've got. I know Dara's been absolutely amazing. He's uploaded a few videos, did an interview with Jack, and I know he's got another one talking about Jack's list coming up at some point, probably this week. Did some hobby stuff. Really appreciate him helping out a whole bunch and just taking over for me for a little while here. But yeah, I'm going to cut it off there. Probably not going to edit this and see how it goes. Thumbnail's probably shit though, so who cares? Alright everyone, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please come join the Discord if you haven't already. But until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill main burn.